Hi, welcome to Attainable Green. I'm Jess, and today we're going to be talking about self-watering containers and how plants do, especially orchids, do in the self-watering setup. The past year, I have been trialing several different setups to figure out what works best with my environment, my plants, and my lifestyle. I'm using self-watering as a way to extend the watering cycles between my plants. I'm using a passive hydroponic setup, and basically that means that there is an inner pot with the plant. There is a wick to draw the water up from a reservoir in an outer pot. So in this way, the water never really touches the plant itself, and the wick provides enough moisture to the plant to keep it hydrated. So I trialed a Phalaenopsis, an Oncidium, a Phalaenopsis, and a Psychopsis in this setup. Now the Phalaenopsis and Psychopsis is fairly new, so I don't have a lot of information on those ones at this time. I'm primarily going to focus on the Oncidium and the Phalaenopsis. For the Phalaenopsis, I put my summer blooming phals in this setup. I realized that the summer blooming phals tend to like more water than the standard Phalaenopsis. These particular plants come from more humid conditions, so they definitely like a lot of moisture. I put them in self-watering, and I used a bark mix or a sphagnum and bark mix to see how they would adapt. I've noticed that these plants are more hydrated this year, and they have been growing a lot better this year as well. However, there is one downside to the type of self-watering pot that I have used. I used kind of a net pot, which has these large slits on the side. The roots of the Phalaenopsis love to escape the net pot and grow all the way into the reservoir. While normally this is not a problem and the plants are doing spectacularly, it's more of an aesthetic issue and something that I personally don't like. I don't like having the roots come out of the pot and into the reservoir, because when I have to repot it later on, I know that I may have to lose a couple of roots at this point. I know that I'm going to have to switch up the pot in this self-watering system. I want a pot that is primarily enclosed, so all the roots stay in the pot itself, with a wick on the bottom to allow for the water to absorb into the plant. This is mostly personal preference, so if you don't mind that the roots are escaping, then this setup totally works for you. Next, I put my Oncidium Twinkles in the self-watering setup. Oncidium Twinkles are known to be smaller and more compact than most other Oncidiums, but they still have large floriferous displays of flowers. This year, I noticed that the pseudobulbs are very plump, the growth has been very quick, and I'm having the best spike display that I have seen so far. Almost every single pseudobulb is putting out 2 spikes, and I know a lot of flowers are going to come in because on my Siku Marguerite, it already is looking very full and lush, and the buds haven't even appeared yet. The Oncidiums are potted in a small bark mix, and because of their very fine, thin roots, I don't notice them escaping the net pot at all. I think they enjoy the high moisture content in the media mix, so I don't notice any roots escaping the net pot. So Twinkles are doing really well in a self-watering setup. I'll leave it in for another season to see how it grows and if it outgrows the pot. But for now, I think my Twinkles really enjoy this self-watering setup. Based on this year's growths, I'm going to trial a couple other plants in a self-watering setup as well. I'm looking to put some Paphiopedilums or even some more Phragmidiums in this setup. I think the constant access to moisture will be really beneficial to these plants, because I tend to be an underwaterer these days, especially for my indoor plants, and so having a bit more moisture for these orchids will be very beneficial. So that is a quick recap on how self-watering setups are doing in my current environment. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, Attainable Green, for all the latest updates on my orchid growing journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!